Welcome back. So we are getting to the finish line. It's the third inner strategy, influence through leadership. Now, we are going to have a little bit of a bonus session which deals with change management and leadership in those situations afterwards. But this is a little bit of a foo-foo bit. So I won't make this too long, but I wanted you to try this out, because you will probably come across this in meditations and stuff as well. So meditation is obviously something that is very mainstream nowadays, and that is something that everybody kind of knows, and that is actually being recommended by doctors, including doctors from big corporations. But this bit is a little bit more out there. So it's influence through energy. And that sounds very new agey, but everybody of us has felt this at times. So have you ever gone to a concert, for example, and saw a really good performer, and did you feel their energy? You know, we call it charisma. You can see the difference between a good and a bad, or not a bad performer, but a more ineffective performer, when they cannot make this connection with the audience. And some performers, they come on stage, and even if there's 100,000 people there, you feel them. You know, you feel that charisma. That's what people usually call it. Or sometimes people come into the room and the room is full. You know, even you feel with people with high power. Sometimes that is a good feeling. Sometimes it's not so much of a good feeling, right? But that is the energy that I mean. So this is something that is very real, that everybody has felt, or most people at least have felt at some point, or the energy of connection with somebody else. You know, that you feel that it is partly mirror neurons in the brain, but it is also some sort of energy that you can feel. There's experiments that people like Master Ko, for example, make that are really quite interesting. The inspiration of great leaders have depended on that, arguably, like Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, or Nelson Mandela. And every spiritual leader out there has this kind of energy, this kind of ability to hold people. And unfortunately, bad leaders and also have this energy. So this energy isn't necessarily something that is good or bad. It's just there, you know. And if it is there, it is a good thing to make use of it in a good way, which can also overpower lesser forces that may be bad around you, that may also affect you. Because, I mean, people like Hitler, for example, they were known for their ability to influence people and to have a vast audience in their spell. And they used it in a bad way. But there is something out there that we cannot really explain yet, but everybody has felt in some way. And usually, hopefully, it's going to be in a good way. You know, usually, hopefully, it will be in a positive way as a stage performer, for example, and a stage performer, and you can feel their energy. And you can use that in a way to also influence other people. And I don't know, as I said, you don't have to believe this. I do believe in it personally, but you can also explain it by, I don't know, the body language of the person who uses it changes, for example, or you know, the way that they use their facial expressions or whatever, the way they use their voice, the way they stand, for example. I do believe it really is energy, but you don't have to necessarily believe it for it to work. At least not when you're in proximity with people. If you're not in proximity with people, you kind of have to believe in it, because otherwise it's not going to work. Like, for example, when I started, when I came down here, for example, one of the first things I did was, for 2 or 3 months before, I was actually visualizing, and I was sending energy to the people that I would be living next to, and to the whole area, and to the job that I would be in, as soon as I knew which job it would be. And it was believe it or not, one of the most pleasant beginnings of a job that I have ever had. Not just, you know, the flowers in the beginning, everything, but everybody was so nice to me. And I wasn't really used to that, because the last few jobs were a little bit on the other side, you know, especially, I mean, not just in England, you know, in that kind of industry, it is usual that, you know, it's cutthroat and everybody knows that. But also when I got here, I had a couple of jobs that were political, because it was young people and they have a different way of treating each other than we used to. As I said, I'm a little bit over 50 now. So we had a different way of getting along with each other than people who are in the Facebook generation nowadays. But as I said, I was radiating for 2 or 3 months. I was just concentrating on, having a great experience and I mean these lovely people and sending them love without any expectation. And so that had actually worked. It actually worked. That it was just a beautiful beginning here. So how do you do that? You send love instead of hate, even if you don't expect anything back, or even if you have already experienced some bad things towards you. And there's a spiritual theory that, that's basically karma, that if you send love instead of hate, then their hate bounces back to them. Or you cancel out your own bad karma by sending the love. Whatever you want to believe in, if you send love instead of hate, it seems to really work. And as mentioned, it is also something that performers do. So they send love to their audience before they even come out. And that may just change their own attitude towards it. But if you take a look at performers that you really love, that are really good and that have really good connection to the audience, that's what you see. When they come out, they already seem to be having this connection, although you haven't actually talked to them yet, or you haven't actually connected with them yet before, but the connection kind of seems to be there already. So you also, what you can do is you visualize light and sending light to people and visualizing the outcome that you want. And that seems to be something that works everywhere. I hear that in sports. I hear that in corporation. In sports, for example, there is actually research apparently that people, when they visualize, it can be more effective than actual training. You see that, you hear that from performers of all kinds of different sports, from basketball to team sports to everything. You also see it in companies. For example, every company has a vision that is really successful, every company that is successful. And the vision isn't necessarily let's make a lot of money. That's not a vision. The vision is let's improve, I don't know, let's save the earth, or let's improve the living standard of 1 million people, or whatever. It is something specific, but it is something big enough to be a real vision, to be a real motivator for the entire company. And then, of course, they make money with it as well, right? But it is something that also can work for us. I have seen that work for me as well. As I said, if when I started a new job, for example, when I came here, that it really seems to work in some way. So the action would be, you don't have to believe me. I don't expect from anybody to believe any of the stuff, especially the little bit more out there stuff. Some of you will be already convinced because you know that it works, because you've done it for years. Some of you will think I'm completely nuts, right? That's fine. Just try it. Just suspend your disbelief and just try it for a while and give it a shot. And you have to really try it and not just think, oh my God, that's so stupid, but I'll do it anyway. But really give it a try and test it out. That is something that, especially with meditation and spiritual teachers, you should always be able to do. If they don't want you to test things out or don't want you to question something, I'd be careful with that. Always test things. And I'm happy for you to test this, because there's so many people who have done this. It's even in the Bible, without a vision people shall perish or something like that, right? So visualize, the action is visualize and send love to a situation you want to change without expectations for 21 days. And the without expectations is important. Without expectations means you do give love. Of course, you kind of want to change the situation, so it's with and without expectation at the same time in a way. But you don't, let's say it this way, you don't give your love just in case the situation will change and people will do what you want. You give the love in any case. But if the situation changes, then you're happy about it, right? So it's not a condition. It's just something, it's just a wish that the conditions maybe changes to a more favorable one than it is right now. But you give the love anyway. just as you would give love to a child or one of your pets, no matter what happens, even if they don't act the way that they should at that moment because they're hurt or, something has happened or whatever. So try this 21 days. And it's important to do this not just once and then, but do it for 21 days and see what happens. And maybe the effect is going to be a little bit later. It doesn't have to be immediate, especially if you do attach a condition to it, and say, oh, I'll only do that if it works. If you don't believe in it, try it anyway, just without expectation. See what happens.